Welcome to another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I am your host, Alan Pettigrew Jr., and in front of me is my good friend, Calvin McGowan. Let the people hear you.
What's up, everybody? It's always a pleasure to be here.
All right. And today we're going to have a Philipless pod because he is in COVID protocols. Get well soon, my brother. We will be checking in with you in probably like a week or two. Uh, let's go ahead and get straight into the games, yo. We have to talk about one game in particular because it's the only thing that we should be talking about as like an NBA community, and that is Klay Thompson's return. Like Calvin, I don't know if you saw the game or not.
Unfortunately, I did not. I don't have NBA TV, which, as we started talking about before the pod, I don't know why you didn't just put this on cable.
Right, like this is a game that I really feel like they should have moved to like ESPN, or they should have like tried to hit up ABC, which contractual agreements, blah blah blah. I don't really care. This is a game that the entire world has been waiting for. Like Klay Thompson has not played in 2 years. Like I think it was almost 1,000 days since we've seen him on the NBA court,
Yeah,
and the way he left in the finals is kind of like a ridiculous thought, and then the setbacks and whatnot. Like him coming back is a monumentous occasion for like everybody who just likes basketball and like a really good story. Like everybody should have saw this game, and everybody should have saw this game not only for like the theatrics of it, but because the Warriors are going to be really scary with Klay. Like even with him not being 100%, seeing the stuff like they clearly gave him the green light last night to just like go play. Like every time he got the ball, he was trying to shoot, and it looked good. There was one play where he just kind of he got a cut, and he threw a dunk down, and was like, "No, we're getting all of the fun, energetic Klay." And I think early we're gonna see like some weird efficiency numbers. Like he shot 2 of 6 from three, and that's completely expected. Like you haven't played, but overall he was like 7 of 13. So like he's going to come back, and I think like
7 of
overall
18.
7 of 18.
Yeah.
Okay, again, efficiency. We're not worried about it, and like I talked about the green light thing where they just kind of was like go hoop. If they allow him to just like play himself into like shape and get his feet under him over like the next month or so, like this isn't going to be uh fun for the rest of the league when we're looking at them in like May. Like I personally, as just like a hater and a fan of just like other teams in the league, have been very happy with the Warriors not being good over the past 2 years. Like it's genuinely made me enjoy basketball more. Why? Because I'm a hater. Like I don't like they were so good that it kind of was a turnoff. And yes, we're talking about like really good basketball. We got Steph, we got Draymond, we got Klay, we got everybody else. And this team reminds me of this team with Klay Thompson on the floor. Like everybody can shoot. Even they don't really have a big, but the guys who are like 6'10", 6'9", who are doing things like they still got Kayvon Looney on this roster. They got Juan Castano Anderson, who is going to be like a really big difference maker in the playoff because he can guard multiple positions. He can do several things on offense. Like he's shooting, he's playing inside the post. He's really athletic. Like they have not really had anyone his size with his skill set over these runs to the playoffs. Like I even like Bielisa, who is a guy like his entire career I've been like, I don't know what he does. Like I know he's always on like an NBA bench and like getting minutes, especially because he was in Sacramento, which just doesn't help. But I've always been like, what exactly do you do? And then he gets with the Warriors, and it's like, oh, you have a genuine skill set, and you look good. And he has like good minutes throughout the game. Like yeah, he hasn't been the same since like the beginning of the season. I guess like defenses like figured him out. He's not getting the same like amount of time, but I think that's a guy who's still going to get positive minutes when we get to the playoffs. Don't know how well he defends, but he is another one of their bigs who can effectively roll. He can hit shots, and he's a decent passer. That's exactly what they need in that offense, like at all times. So the return of Klay Thompson makes them right back to title contenders, and I completely understand what like all the hype was about. And I purposely kind of wrote them off just because I don't want this to happen. Like I don't have a better reason outside of I just don't like it. Like the Warriors scare me. Like genuinely. Like we've seen over the last 2 years what Curry by himself can do. And weirdly, it's first year injuries like severely slow him down. Second year, when he's on the court, he is dominant. And then this year, he is dominant on the court in winning. And then he gets his weapon, his like number one weapon back in Klay Thompson. And Draymond Green is having like defensive player of the year type performances. Like it's all beginning to look too much like 2018, 2017 to me. I do not have like actually it's probably not 2017, 2018 because that's when they had Durant. It's more like 2015, which still scary. Actually, 73 wins scary. It's making me uncomfortable. I can't wait to really like see how this all works out over the next couple months. Guys, Klay Thompson's back. So go ahead and let's do the fan vote thing. Like normally I hate like the idea of fan votes. Let's get Klay Thompson a bid, yeah. Like
no.
Look, he still has to get it from players and coaches. He's not gonna get enough votes from those two groups. I hope they wouldn't do that to somebody. But as fans, we don't care anyway. We try to get Andrew Bogut in here one time. We what's the man that almost took
Zaza Pachulia.
We almost got Zaza in here one time. Why not Klay? Klay's still an all-star. Like normally we do this with like a retired player or something. Like why not? I'm just saying. I mean, make him a team captain or honorary team captain. I don't care.
Yeah, it's just like I don't know. Just no. Like it's just like. Well, we're past the halfway point of the season, and like fairness, right? It would probably be fun. I'm not going to sit and lie. It's just I don't know. There's some weird principle thing in my head. It's just like no. Also no for like Zaza and like the other dudes who got in off the strength of being or almost got in off the strength of being a meme. But like I don't know. Like I don't know, but. That said, it is good that like he's back playing, NBA basketball again after bullying dudes in the G League for a little while.
Look, this is the most fun meme we have in the league. Like we know that other people aren't going to vote him in. Just as like a congratulations that you're back. Why not? Honestly, like I don't see anything wrong with it, especially when we already know the outcome.
I mean, if we're real, right, there's not really anything wrong with it. It's just like an all-star game. There's just something in me that's like the principle of it is just like, no. It's like, no, unless he just like suddenly just like starts destroying people here over the next couple games. Which, I mean, he might. But like, just right now, my default is no, and I'm not going to pretend like I have just like some great reason to keep him out of a glorified exhibition game.
But, Klay, you got a month. Go ahead and talk to Steve Kerr. Let him shoot as many threes. Actually, I'm talking to you, Steve Kerr. Let Klay Thompson shoot as many threes as possible over the next month. So he can break Steph Curry's record. Go ahead and hit 15 threes in a game so we can go ahead and get what I want. For selfish reasons. We do not care about what everybody else wants in this situation because it would just be fun. We know he's not going to get a lot of minutes in an all-star game. He might even get the scratch, which means somebody else gets to step in. But let's move on to another feel good story, and probably not so feel good for Avery Badley, but for the entire city of Memphis, Ja Morant's ridiculous block.
I mean, like, Ja Morant's kind of been ridiculous in general a lot of
Oh
the
yeah,
season, but that block was, it's kind of wild. I'm not, like, for any of y'all who haven't seen it, basically Ja timed it like he was gonna grab it out the air. He didn't because the backboard was in the way. But like,
dog, we've been hyping guys up for years who hit their head on the backboard. This man hit his upper body on the backboard. Like his elbow was at the bottom of the square. His hand is like halfway up the entire backboard. And like he just calmly took the ball and just dribbled up the court. Like dog, you're a superhero at that point. Like that is those are moments in the league that will forever be on highlight reels and make you legendary. Like that is an unforgettable moment where you like, hey, I know for a fact I'm gonna be a parent at some point. Somebody gonna have a ridiculous chase down block in the year like 2046, and I'm gonna be like, hey son, hey, did you see Ja Morant's block back in 2022? Yeah, that kid's it might be better than the one you just saw there. And at that time, people probably gonna have like bionic legs, so it's gonna be ridiculous. But that's besides the point, yo. Like, Ja Morant has fully made the jump into like superstar territory. I think I might be like jumping the shark a little bit here, but we're talking about 2 back-to-back player of the weeks in the Western Conference, which means you had to beat out so many people. Like LeBron's back in like full effect. Steph's been playing really well. Like, dang, I'm trying to search for like other people who've just been kind of going crazy in the Western Conference, and like I'm running out of names. You got a point. I always forget Jokic. He had just had a monster game too. But like, it's the Ja Morant show right now, and he's leading the Grizzlies to like big wins. I think they were like top 5 in the West right now, which is still a ridiculous thing for that conference.
We're currently like 4.
Yeah, and you guys are rising, which is crazy. Like this is still like a really young team, so I'm not worried about them in the playoffs. But you guys are going to stretch somebody to like a game 7. Like, you remind me of a better version of the Dallas Mavericks when they were taking the past 2 years where they took the Clippers to game 7 and in like opening rounds. Like, you guys are going to be a really tough out, barring like injury and whatever. Like, you have a solid team overall. Like, Desmond Bane is stepping up. Your big man is super solid. Sorry, I can't remember his name just like off the top of my head right now.
Jaren Jackson Jr.
I'm not even talking about Jaren Jackson Jr., but Jaren Jackson Jr.
Steven Adams?
Steven Adams? Is it Steven Adams? I don't think y'all got Steven Adams no more. I think
we have Steven Adams.
You got Steven Adams?
Yeah, okay, we got him from New Orleans before the season started.
I'm thinking of another large human then. But like
Vucevic?
I don't think it's Vucevic.
Wait. No. Wrong name. Giannis
Valanciunas.
Thank you.
Boom. Used to play for Toronto. That's how I remember him. But no, like, you guys are almost special. And it's like super on target for where you guys are at. I think this is year 3 for Ja. Like, this is when everything starts to click and you start to take off. Jaren Jackson Jr. is year 4. Desmond Bane is like really showing up in year 2. And then you got guys that are like in the wings that are probably going to be really good in probably like 2-3 years, like Zaire Williams. Like
the way the team has drafted, right? It's just kind of just been good in general. Like, just kind of being good at finding, to be kind of reductive about it, dudes that can just kind of come in and play, right? And so the thing is, right, is it like they really started clicking like after Ja got hurt, right? And for like second, folks like, are they better without Ja? And it's just he comes back and it's like, no. The answer is no. But like they did probably benefit from having him out for a little bit. Right? Other players can't just like get comfortable thinking like in moments like, oh, Ja's gonna save us. It's just like, no, he can't save you now. And so like, everybody gets kind of starts actually clicking, and then you insert him back and everybody's still, playing like that. And kind of taking a solid team to like make, and like I guess the kind of thing will take a team from being just solid to like being good, in that everybody like actually plays, right? You don't take plays off that kind of like generic sounding coach stuff that is like actually really important. It's just like there's a reason dudes like say this constantly, as annoying and like banal and like dull as it is. It's just like dudes can't take plays off, right? Like you can't, like as good as like Ja may be, right? The rest of the team can't just sit and wait for him to score and like expect to win basketball games. But like, the longest tenured Grizzly is Dylan Brooks, right? And like he's also the best defender and also currently hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's one of those things where it's like it's a deep enough team that like one important dude getting hurt doesn't completely derail, what you got going on. Unlike, certain teams in the New York area. But
I know you're talking about the Knicks. My boys are good.
There's a reason they're letting Kyrie play now.
Yeah, that's because COVID is whooping New York's ass. It ain't got nothing to do with my team.
Look, whatever makes you feel better. Like we talked about it last week. Harris got hurt, and like just like that, they are just above mediocrity. Like by wins and losses.
If you call top 3 in the East mediocrity, then
I'm talking about the stretch of games. What was it, 8 and 5 over that stretch? I didn't keep track this week.
Top 3 in the East. Overall records. You worry about stints.
Look, if it weren't for the stint, Kyrie is still sitting at home every game.
I digress.
But I really didn't say that to like go on a tangent and take shots at the Nets, at least any more so than usual. But like, yeah, so I don't know. I just constantly feel like the Grizzlies are always a little bit like, for like the last couple of years have been like always just been a little bit ahead of schedule in terms of like what you would expect the timeline for the rebuild, which is nice because it means you have a bunch of good young players on solid contracts. Granted, I don't know. I'm very much probably just let them develop and kind of see what you have, right? Because like teams have screwed themselves over regularly by like getting rid of players before they needed to.
Yeah.
Oh, unrelated. Bol Bol is a Piston now.
Perfect segue. Do you want to talk about this? Because I think this is the best move possible for Bol Bol.
Yeah, sure. Why not? It's interesting if nothing else.
Yeah. So, actually, let's finish up the Memphis thing because I got one more question for you. Then we'll get into Bol Bol.
Okay.
This team does not feel like the grit and grind teams, and it makes sense because these aren't the same guys. We're almost 10 years removed from grit and grind. But as a Memphis fan and somebody who's been watching the team for forever, like, what exactly feels different about those two teams, and what feels similar?
Okay. So I guess the main difference makes me a little bit sad in that like this team kind of like plays more like the rest of the league, if that makes sense, which is kind of a
you can shoot threes.
Well, yes, but like also just like faster paced, right? They're not nearly as good of a defensive team. Like collectively also I think they're just younger.
Yeah.
Because like grit and grind when it really got rolling, like he had dudes like Tony Allen and Zach Randolph who'd like already been around for a little while. Right? And like you don't really have that here. Like most of these players are fairly young, right? Well, actually, they're young as far as basketball players go in general, except like Steven Adams and like I keep feeling like Kyle Anderson is like in his 30s, but I'm pretty sure he's like 27.
Yeah, I think Kyle Anderson is like 2 years older than us.
Like,
well, me, I'm the baby.
Right. Correction, he's 28. That doesn't really change anything. He's still like younger than it feels like he is. And is still just like a strangely effective basketball player for a dude who earned the nickname Slow Mo that he's never been able to shake since whenever they gave it to him.
I mean, have you seen him run?
Like, I get it, but it's still just like it still works anyway. And it's just okay, like yeah. But yeah, like they play like a bit more like the rest of the league in terms of like whole space and pace or whatever.
Yeah.
Which works for them, right? You have Ja Morant. You're gonna tell me you're not gonna clear the lane and let him work, but like, it's also a little sad because like, I don't know, the collective homogeny of the league bores me. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like for me, it's less fun when everybody plays the same brand of basketball. Like I get it, but I also feel. Side note though, I also tend to feel like in general, teams spend too much time trying to copy whatever is currently working, rather than trying to put the best team possible on the floor and like put all those dudes in position to be successful and work together and all of that. All that stuff. That said, of course, again, Grizzlies are solid and whatever. That's the biggest difference, but like probably the biggest strength is that the biggest similarity. I'd probably just go with general purpose tenacity, as dumb as that sounds to say, right? Like Ja isn't the kind of player to take possessions off. Brooks isn't really the kind of player to take possessions off. Like you have that in general, right? Just a collective hustle, like dudes not giving up on plays like that.
Yeah.
Except the third string, who are just collectively somehow probably worse than most third strings. But I guess as long as you don't put them all on the court at the same time, it's whatever. But that as well as just also probably a general advantage is like more depth, like a difference, right? There's a bit more depth, right? Because with the grit and grind Grizzlies, right? After a couple dudes down, it's like there's not that you have other dudes, but it's just like with this team, you can go a full 10 dudes deep and be like, okay, this dude might be able to help, might be able to change the situation in a way that having we had Vince Carter one year, right? Old Vince Carter, who good player off the bench, but he's not young Vince Carter.
Yeah.
Right. And just having that depth, right? That having enough dudes again that you can have important players hurt and the team not immediately implode, or like struggle for stretches and whatever. And like, I guess also the advantage of just the youth is that like we can, in general, you can bring the same dudes back the next year by and large, right?
Yeah.
Like there's been, like even as like a lot of pieces have like moved here and there, there's a certain consistency, right? And I think especially this year you kind of started to find those guys that like you're gonna want to hang on to for a while, or at least you had some of them. You can kind of see where the rest of them are, I think. Right? Like Bane's not going anywhere.
Oh no, not at all.
Like, nah.
His extension is coming up very quickly.
Right. It's like he's not going anywhere. And like you've also just, they're good enough at like drafting as well as like helping players get better that like you can kind of just you can kind of just wait and see like if there's a spot that you're like, hey, I need somebody for this. You can get somebody, like see what you have, help them get better and whatever. But yes, enough gushing about two very different eras of my team, but like Bol Bol.
Yeah. No, man, I'm really excited for this move for Bol Bol for two reasons. Reason one, I do not think he was ever going to get the minutes he needs to actually develop in Denver. Like, they're already ready to go. Like, his timeline, you know how they used to say it's like, oh, 2 years away. Well, Bol Bol is probably always going to be like the 2 years away from 2 years away type of guy. Like, he's just not going to be what he needs to be physically for like a really long time. So we have to bank on skill development. And one thing that Detroit is going to do to continue to suck for at least the remainder of Cade Cunningham's rookie contract is they need somebody that's just going to try to like figure it out on the fly. And that is perfect for Bol Bol. Like, we've seen what Bol Bol could possibly be. Without like the needed strength and whatnot, it just might not be a lot. But Detroit needs shooting. Like, really bad. They need like a floor spacer. Bol Bol probably doesn't shoot the three that well. Like, can you pull up his stats real quick? I don't think he shoots the ball that well throughout his NBA career. But I also know it's on very limited attempts.
So I could not really tell you why, but like yes, limited attempts. But from a pure percentage standpoint, he has gotten dramatically worse every year. Again, why are you like this? Granted, off like very limited attempts.
Yeah.
Right? So like his first year, 1.3 attempts per game that he played in, a grand total of 7 games. He shot 44% from 3.
Okay.
The next year, 0.8 attempts a game from 3, 37.5%. This year, 32 games.
32?
Yes. This year, so far, 14 games, 0.3 threes per game, 25%. Some of this we might say is just like, at least some of it might be like reduced volume or whatever.
Yeah.
Also, he's out currently. But yeah, but I guess more to the point though is just like it. If you're Detroit, like it can't hurt
at all.
Like,
if you already gonna stink, why not stink with somebody that's gonna like maybe sell a ticket or two?
Yeah, it's just the Pistons are trash.
Look, it only helps your lottery odds at this point. Like that is the beauty of having like trading away a player like Rodney Magruder, who's not exactly going to move the needle, but he can actually play. Like he could actually be on the court right now. Like Bol Bol can't like effectively, but he's going to get a shot with the Pistons just because they need bodies. They need bodies and they need some semblance of talent and a guy who's I don't know how to say this nicely. Um, he was a 5-star prospect coming out of high school. He has great mixtapes. The highest of his highlights are like really interesting. And at the bare minimum, if he can like figure out a way to model his game after Jeremy Grant, who he's not the same type of player as Jeremy Grant. Like Jeremy Grant is an incredibly explosive athlete. He came into the league as a 4. Yeah, he was skinny. He didn't know much, but always like a NBA athlete. Bol Bol does not have like the same thing, but the way Jeremy Grant has fashioned himself into like somewhat of a shot creator, being able to actually look like a wing person. Like that's a good person to like somewhat figure it out with. Like you're gonna see him every day in practice. You're going to inevitably work out with him. You're gonna steal some stuff. Like I think that is going to be good for his overall development because he needs a lot of it. I like Bol Bol. I would love to see him do good. And I think I'm a homer. I will always probably be a homer with that dude because he's from Kansas City. Like Bishop Miege, stand up. Like any person that is like, you're from the 816, baby. Like I'm a rock with you. I don't care how bad you do it. Stick around. And he's still like super young, isn't he? What is he like? 21, 22?
22.
Like that is he has not came into his man body whatsoever. We've also seen pictures of his daddy. That might just be his man body.
Yeah,
we don't know. But he's 7'2". Historically, actually, I can't even say historically because he didn't really shoot the ball well in college.
I thought he did shoot it okay.
Like he played like 10 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like you look good in 10 games, but it's 10 games.
Yeah.
Like when he played 7 games, he shot 44% from the 3-point line. We got 82 of them joints. Like
okay. But like okay, I'm gonna say this. One, he's a fascinating like as a like a what he could be kind of guy, right? To me. But like also, I remember watching him in college. I didn't like his game in college. Like, and because like if memory serves, right at the time, right, I felt like, there were a lot of things he didn't do, right? Like didn't really box out.
How can you?
It's just put a body on somebody. At least pretend to give effort.
I'm 145 pounds. He weighed just as much as I do. You're not doing that.
Look, he can try. But no, all right, more to the point though, right? I guess there's a general effort that I kind of felt was lacking. Granted, I also felt like his passing was kind of undersold. And of course, since getting in the league, he hasn't done much from a combination of like not being super healthy and like having to find minutes behind Jokic and dudes that are actually good at the NBA level.
Yeah.
And like have been good basically their entire careers at the NBA level. And probably more important than that, right? Just like as somebody who cares about people playing the entire game, right? And this is something that like might just always be an issue with him. It's just like, and this is something we've touched on in previous. Who do you have him guard? Right, like who on defense, right? How do you keep him from like getting torn up?
You run a zone. You got to run a zone when Bol Bol's on the court.
Like the thing is, that's probably the correct answer. I guess then the thing is, like, are y'all willing to do that to hide him? Right? And because, like, correct me if I'm wrong, most teams don't run zone like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Like,
and even then, right? Like, the limit of the kind of zones at the pro level is, like, dudes like Bol Bol and Gobert, even though, like, they're completely different types of players, like, they can't camp in the paint.
Yeah.
And Bol Bol out on the perimeter is gonna get blown by or, like, run over, right? And, like, it's not like high school or pro where you can just make up for the fact that you're a bad defender by running after a dude and trying to get the block, because everybody is about as athletic as you are. And again, to use an old adage, right? All you need is half a step, right? And there's not a dude in the league who can't get a half a step. But, like, offensively, though, he's a fascinating prospect. 7 feet tall, can shoot a little bit. Granted, I can't remember. Did he just not? No, he did. I don't remember if he was any good in the post. It's been too long since I've seen him play.
He shoots out of the post. Like, that's it. Like, he got to turn around, fade away.
Right. Like, it's just like there are, like, he can be a good player, but there are various issues, and, like, there are workarounds, right? But, like, I don't know. I guess the thing with him is, especially early, right? It, like, you kind of, as a coach, you're kind of just gonna have to work around his deficiencies. Like, assuming you're trying to win any games. Granted, if you're Dwayne Casey, you're probably not trying. You're probably trying to win games. You don't have the players to win games.
Yeah.
And, like, no amount of Cunningham being amazing, or, like, Bol Bol showing that, oh, he's actually an NBA player who's just behind what was likely a future Hall of Famer, like at least one, is going to change that this year. Like, we're, like, halfway through anyway. The best you can do is worsen your odds in the lottery. Right? Because they're like 8 and like 30 or something. Hold up, I'm probably overstating it just a little bit. let me get it. No, I was right. 8 and 30. Yeah. Like, there's not much, like, to recover from that, you basically have to win out. Nobody wins out. Like, you're gonna drop at least one. And you win 8 and 30, there's no way you drop only one.
Yeah, because look, I'm intrigued, and I think the biggest thing that I'm intrigued by is his value at this point. Like, he has not been able to play games, and when he has played games, he's been bad. Mm-hmm. The fact that they got a player and a second round pick blows my mind.
Like, I think the thing, right, if you're the Pistons, you're betting on what he needs is a change of scenery for real, right? Like, to be able to, like, get out from, behind the giant, like, Jokic's giant shadow, and, like, go somewhere and get some actual minutes, right? Get some, like, real NBA minutes that you can at least pretend matter, like, under his belt. And, like, maybe he will become what dudes were convinced he could become coming out, even though, like, again, I never really liked his game. But, like, I can get the intrigue, right? But, like, I don't know. I guess my thing is, like, the thing is, there are a number of players that, like, I've kind of observed, and I've, from the time, like, I kind of started caring about, like, the NBA draft and stuff, that, like, sound better on paper than like they do in execution.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna write, because like Bol is so young, I'm not gonna write him off and be like, yeah, there's no way he can turn into like a good NBA player or something, because like that's not true. Granted, I'm not sure how much muscle he can put on. I guess you can always try steroids if you feel so compelled. I'm not advocating it, but I'm sure dudes do it. Like, but full seriousness, I'm not just gonna write him off and just be like, oh, there's no way he can become a good to very good or maybe even great player, just because like, I don't know, I don't like needless hate, and like he's young, and like, I don't know, maybe change the scenery. You don't feel like, oh, right, I got my 5 minutes to show off, and so I'm just gonna chuck or like make questionable basketball decisions in the name of like trying to put the ball in the hoop and prove to my coach, who like could care less about whether or not I actually do that like, oh, you have to play me, which again, he could care less. He's got his dudes. He just needs you to get better and play within the system and like figure out how to play defense. Don't really care how you do it, but make it so that like we don't have to take you out at the end of the game, assuming you find your niche on offense.
Sure. Look, all I gotta say about Bol Bol is, I really wonder what his diet is.
I mean, given that he's basically built like his dad, I'm not sure it matters that much what his diet is. I mean, it probably does to some extent, but like, if we're hoping he puts on muscle, I'm admittedly not sure how much his diet would help. I mean, it would definitely help, but like, I don't know. I guess it's one of KD's like development is like in terms of like physique and whatever is the best scenario, and like KD was basically a stick when he got to the league. He's a slightly bigger stick now, but like, it's a little harder to push him around, and he can push back.
Yeah, look, I wish you well, Bol Bol. We'll leave that segment like that.
I feel like that was needlessly critical of that man. Or at least it felt like it.
You 7'2", you make a decent amount of money, and worst come to worst, overseas, where they are much more physical. So have fun.
I heard they don't really play defense in China, so you can try that.
Oh my goodness, I think that would be very entertaining. But they're also insanely physical over in China too.
Fair, I guess. But yeah.
You can get beat up either way it go. Let's go ahead and switch to a lower level. Calvin, tell me what's going on in college basketball these days.
Okay. So where do I start? All right. Real quick, I guess I'll start with the one full game I watched, which was Memphis women's team versus Tulsa. It wasn't pretty. It did not go well. And I'm sure if you talk to, Memphis's new women's coach, Coach Merriweather, there are several reasons for that. But one of the most basic ones is, for whatever reason, they forgot how to put the ball in the basket. Like, the shooting percentage was awful. And like, there was other stuff. They weren't dominating the boards like they tend to in their games. Like, just not taking care of the basketball. And, Tulsa had none of these problems. Right? Threes, knocking them down. Right? Boards, they were getting the boards most of the game. Like, it was a generally lopsided affair pretty much from start to finish. And the coach was not happy. She was not happy at all. That halftime interview, like, she looked like, you could just tell, like, by like the energy she gave off, right? she like if she didn't cuss him out, she wanted to. Like it, she was pissed. But yeah, that was disappointing. The men's team did a lot better. I actually kind of want to pull this one up because they played Cincinnati. And they played good enough to win, right? With most of the team back healthy, right, and off of like COVID protocol and such. They played good enough to win, which that's at the end of the day, whether you win by a little or win by a lot, you won. That said, Cincinnati shot the 3 ball really, really well. Right? 53% on the night.
Oh, there's down there.
Oh yeah. Like Memphis didn't shoot nearly as well. Like it wasn't like Memphis shot fine from 3, right? 45%, 9 of 20. They like Cincinnati did a solid job of taking care of the ball, especially against the Memphis team that has had a tendency to like force turnovers, and just as a defense they're generally very good at like taking control of the situation away from the offense. Right? And like also looking at it, Memphis controlled the boards, right? 41 rebounds to 31 rebounds. Bates' first game back in a little bit. 12 points, 6 assists, 7 rebounds. Good night out for the freshman. Also, Tyler Harris, right? He went to Iowa State and came back, and I think he's technically a walk-on now. It is what it is. It's great to have him back because he can hit some crazy shots. He can hit them from deep. And when he gets a few to go down, they all kind of start dropping. And like he had 20. Right? He had 20. He had apparently only 1 steal, but it was an important one in clutch time. Up 3, right? In the closing seconds. When Cincinnati needed a 3 and presumably were going to take the last shot, Harris got the steal. Right? Got the steal. Hit his free throws. And like that was kind of the game. And I don't know, I'll take the win.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'll take the win. Tennessee lost to LSU. There was a lot of game I didn't see. So some of it I'm not really sure. The part I watched, it seemed like Tennessee had an opportunity to they had an opportunity to win, but they kind of just didn't get what they needed, right? Didn't quite do a good enough job taking care of the ball when they needed to. Didn't hit the shots they needed to hit. There's not a whole lot of secret there. Kennedy Chandler is of course still Kennedy Chandler, but as a group, it was kind of, I don't know. I was granted tuned in without seeing the whole game, kind of disappointed. And the game before that, they beat Ole Miss in overtime. And Ole Miss isn't terrible or anything, but I don't know. You expect better.
Yeah. They're not topping the SEC.
No. Not playing like that. No. So they got some work to do. Oh yes. Ty Washington. now holds the single game assist record for Kentucky, right? Beating out John Wall. Dang it, I don't even remember who they were playing.
Let's look it up.
It was Georgia. Georgia is not good, but the assist record is. So
yeah,
he
17
had
in the game.
Yeah, 17 and 17. Like,
so, it's about that time though. You know, Kentucky usually decides to turn it on around like the February time. So this makes sense that he has one of these stellar standout games, even if it is against Georgia, who's dreadful by SEC standards and most of the country for that matter. But the fact that Kentucky is coming into their own, especially Ty Washington, who I said even from like the beginning of the year, if Kentucky's going to be good, it's going to be because of Ty Washington. Like I know Oscar Way has been playing really well and is even getting like some player of the year talk. It's Ty. Like that's the guy who gets the ball to everybody. That's the guy who can, when it comes to crunch time, is probably going to be the one who's going to be making the play. Like this is Ty's team. The fact that he had a game like this shows a lot, and probably reignites some of his lottery pick talk because I know people were a little shaky on him for a little minute there, but that happens with Kentucky players all the time where we nitpick at the beginning and then we come around to the new year and it's like, oh, Kentucky's really good. Duh. Like, they're babies. Give them time.
So if I might touch on the draft a little, granted, there's much more stuff about draft than I can really talk because I would need to watch exponentially more games, and there's only so much time in the day. But granted, right, the games that okay, so I'd start by saying, right, still, I'm still I still feel good about Kennedy Chandler, right, as a prospect. But I don't know, watching him comparing his high school from what I saw from him in high school, and since he's been at Tennessee, his pass selection is a lot more tame, right? I'm not seeing a lot of the passes that really got my attention. His passes aren't bad, right? But the ones that, in the games I have seen, and maybe it's just the games that I have just picked out, because I don't know why. It just I seem to pick the games that Tennessee doesn't do well, right? That's the thing that makes perfect sense. But because you remember seeing him in high school, he's an elite level passer that, but I haven't seen much of that at Tennessee, but I say that to say granted, even saying that I'm still fairly high on him, I think that at least for some of the guards in the class, that there are people that are, I think, just lower on them than I feel like I am collectively. Granted, right? And I say this saying, right? That, for example, I didn't really watch Ty in high school, and while I did watch J.D. Davidson, I don't know, I had some issues. You're aware of my various issues with his game. I'm not going to rehash that here. But, I feel they're all players that would benefit from, the extra space in the pro game.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, maybe in an environment, at least in, Chandler's case, to have a little bit more room to make some of those passes that, he made in high school, you and I know, have seen him do consistently, right? And I think that they have the collectively they have the potential to be better than I think a lot of other people do.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you on Chandler. I'm kind of on the fence about Ty Ty.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's like super big. His game is not exactly limited, but where he needs to be to operate. Like if he was 6'5", 6'6", I'd be in love. But at 6'3", it's kind of like I I need you to show me more of the jumper, and if you were quicker, I'd be more excited. But he plays like a big guard. And when you're only 6'3", kind of limited. And then JD Davison, like that's just an overwhelming athlete. Like I don't have much to say outside of that. Like I don't know if the kid can shoot. Um, I need to see more. Like I would. That's a guy who I would love to see come back. Like a backcourt of JD Davison and Jaden Bradley would be really good until we probably look at like the 3-point numbers.
Like, yeah, that probably tracks. I pulled up Davison's numbers now because like I know that he hasn't started, or at least no, I'm not gonna say he's never started any games. Oh, okay. At least according to this, he's not started any games. Like he's not exactly hurting for playing time.
Yeah.
I maybe it's just because like I saw him in high school. I felt like he'd be more of a bigger impact, but also it's a good Alabama team with like good older players.
Yeah.
So, and like he seems to buy into the whole team concept thing. His percentages are fine though. I guess he's a decent free throw shooter. Looking at the numbers, 71%, 50% from the field, 31% from deep. But he's also not taking a whole bunch of them. 8 points, 4.3 assists, 5 rebounds. I don't know. Like I don't know. It's both like I'm both disappointed and also kind of like given context. I'm not sure how much it should matter to whether or not you draft him. But like I don't know. I don't think it's a bad thing that like he's willing to like take on a smaller role in the name of wins.
Yeah.
And such, and like he's had good games, right? It's not like he's just like been completely cold the entire game, like the entire season or something. But I guess it's, as with all things, it's kind of a wait and see type of thing.
Yeah. Oh man, I appreciate it. Is that everything for the college basketball wrap up?
Pretty much. I just want to throw this in here because like there's not really a good spot to talk about it, and like I didn't watch this game, and it was, I feel like it was a better part of, like it was either the very beginning of this week or the end of the week before. Like the very beginning of last week or the end of the week before. But South Carolina's women's team finally lost a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
to Missouri of all teams.
Yes. Apparently an like a short-handed Missouri too, which is kind of like, granted, I think what it was in like overtime or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, but it's still like, but it was both. Oh, Missouri got South Carolina, which would be fascinating, even if it's like it was a healthy Missouri team. It's also like they do that, and like they're not ranked. Yeah. Like after. Also, also South Carolina didn't drop, but like that makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And Missouri's on a roll too. Like they picked up another good win in their last little matchup.
Right. And it's just like with South Carolina, it makes sense, right? They don't drop. They've beaten Stanford, right? They beat North Carolina State. They beaten UConn. There are probably some teams I'm missing, right? They've beaten a lot of, like, it was like Staley was just like, all right, all y'all just line up, like let's get this started. So like there aren't any questions, right? And so it's just kind of a thing. It's kind of like, at this point, South Carolina either has beaten or has a better resume than anybody else who could potentially get the number one spot at the moment. So, like, you kind of just got to be like, South Carolina number one? That makes sense. Like, it just does.
Like, I'm not going to argue against it.
Right. It's just like, it's like, what argument would you make? I mean, like, I guess the argument would be they lost to an unranked Missouri team, but it's just like they've beaten the number 2 team in the country twice. Right? They beat North Carolina State. Right? Like, at a certain point, you just kind of got to be like, okay, they're very good. They also beat Oregon, number 9 ranked at the time. They also beat Maryland and Duke. Like,
yeah, like, okay, so you're supposed to drop one.
Like, yeah, like this is it's fluky until it's not, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that in there. Not because I don't feel like that's a great place to fit it, and it's fascinating to me.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Don Staley and the South Carolina program. I believe I was scrolling through Twitter and saw that when Asia Wilson was there, they lost to Missouri too, in kind of like the same fashion, where they were like pretty much number one, like the best team by far, and Missouri was kind of like plucky, came and gave them the business that one game, but they also won the national championship. So if this is a little bit of, foretelling, go ahead and get them girls sized up for rings.
Right.
Yeah. But thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Traveling Hoopers podcast. I am your host, Alan Pettigrew Jr. And in front of me is my main man, Calvin McGowan. And thank you for sticking around this long. Go ahead and like, subscribe, do all the good social media stuff. You can follow us on Instagram at traveling_hoopers, Twitter at traveling hoopers, and most importantly, so we can get this money, because we poor. I'm not going to speak for Calvin. I'm poor. I'm destitute, baby. I could use a few racks. So go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube so we can get that little revenue coming in, I'm going to go ahead. I've been saying this for weeks. I am going to, before the end of the month, we're going to have a Patreon so you can support us that way. You can go on our Anchor page. There's an option to leave us a tip. If you can shoot me like $3 per episode, that'd be perfect, because that's enough for me to go get some fries for Culver's. And your boy love potatoes. Be great. I am Irish. Thank you. Calvin, go ahead and let the people hear your voice one more time so we can get up out of here.
Well, I'm gonna keep my shilling to a minimum, but like, share, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave something in the comments. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Oh yeah. Oh, and one last thing. I am doing a Prospects Corner podcast this week with Joe Tipton of Tipton Edits and 0-3. So go ahead and check that out. That will be coming out sometime later this week. Thank you.